To Germany now, which is making headlines for a U-turn. This is about immigration. Germany now wants tougher immigration measures. Chancellor Olaf Scholz announced it. This was after a marathon meeting with German state leaders. They've come up with new rules. They'll make it easier for Germany to deport migrants. And it's a far cry from Germany's old policies, pro-refugee policies, implemented by former Chancellor Angela Merkel. And Germany's case is not unique. It's part of a larger trend we are seeing across Europe. On Monday, Italy proposed a migrant plan. Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni is shipping them off to Albania. Migrants will wait in Albania while their asylum applications are being processed by Italy. Meanwhile, the French Senate is also debating tougher immigration bill, a tougher bill. And then, of course, there's the UK. They started it all with their ship to Rwanda plan. So everywhere you look, Europeans are shutting the door, trying to outsource their refugee problem. Here's our report.
Olaf Scholz has struck a deal. He's found a way to appease leaders in Germany's 16 states. After hours of discussion, this is what he came up with.
I don't want to use big words, but I would like to say that I believe this is a historic moment as we sit here. In light of an unquestionably huge challenge with very large numbers of migrants and irregular migration, we have managed for all levels of the state to closely cooperate, which is necessary.
What exactly is the historic decision? It seems to be undoing the past. Germany has been seen as a welcoming country for refugees and asylum seekers. This was because of the policies of former Chancellor Angela Merkel. She opened the door for people trying to escape conflict zones and other unsafe places. And she's been blamed for all that followed. Europe in general and Germany in particular are seeing a surge of immigrants, people fleeing war zones and poverty around the world. The EU promised to be humane to asylum seekers, but it wasn't prepared for the rush. So now the bloc is slamming the door shut, one country at a time. Germany will reduce support for migrants. They'll have to wait longer until they're eligible for healthcare, funding and other social services. It's a bid to make Germany less attractive for immigrants. And Germany's far from the only European country doing this. Italy has been at the forefront of the European migrant crisis. Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni says it's a victim of geography, becoming the first port of call for migrants who brave the Mediterranean. Her solution? Change geography for the migrants. Instead of staying in Italy when they land, migrants will be packed off to a non-EU member, the Balkan nation of Albania.
The agreement consists the fact that Albania will give Italy opportunity to use some areas of the Albanian territory in which Italy can create at its own expense under its jurisdiction two structures where it can set up centers for the management of illegal migrants. These facilities will initially be able to accommodate up to 3,000 people who will remain in these centers.
The centers are supposed to become operational next year. They will house up to 3,000 migrants, which is almost nothing compared to the number of people reaching Italy. Meloni says their asylum applications will be processed in a month, and only one center will house migrants at a time. So she expects to hold 36,000 asylum seekers in Albania every year. Is this legal? The UN says it is, provided some rules are followed.
First, that all the rights provided by the Conventions on Refugees and Human Rights are respected by the concerned countries. And second, that these transfers must not become a shift of responsibilities as far as refugees' protection is concerned. They must instead become an enhancement of a shared responsibility.
Who will check if Albania respects human rights? Will the EU ensure that Italy doesn't abdicate responsibility? We'll find out in a few months. On the face of it, Europe seems to be doing everything it can to shift the refugee burden elsewhere. France seeks to deport people who are a serious threat to public order. That could mean anything. But they'll make an exception for people who work in sectors with labor shortages. Basically, people willing to get exploited at minimum pay. Then, the UK is trying to send migrants to Rwanda in Africa. British courts have struck down this plan, but the government is appealing the decision. Even if it loses, there will likely be other deportation drives. It seems Europe's anti-immigration push has just begun.